I'm Bonnie Ray Fernandez, and I'd like to share a little bit of my life story with you. I was born in San Jose, California. I think it's got an interesting story here. Grandmother Gattrell, let's call her Grandmother Gattrell, lived in Campbell, California. And she had went to go see her brother, who lived in Campbell. Now, Campbell's in, again, California, kind of south of San Francisco. And he had a multitude of children. And as the story goes, Grandmother Gattrell walked into his house, and there was all these children around this one pot of potatoes. And all the kids were grabbing for the potatoes, and there was one little girl that was so little she couldn't reach. And my grandmother's heart just broke, and the little girl's name was Daisy. And so she took the little girl, took her home with her, and raised her. When she was about 12, she got a very, very high fever, and it caused, in those days they didn't know what to do, it caused mental retardation. After that happened, she gained a lot of weight, and she was very difficult to control, and she started sneaking out the windows at night. On one of those episodes, she was raped. And I am the product of that rape. So they never did find out who the father was. Daisy, how the adoption went, Grandma Gattrell's daughter, Lee Gattrell, Daisy got very difficult, and she actually met a mental retarded man and moved away and left me, okay, with Grandmother Gattrell. Had a hard time raising me because I was so little and young. And her daughter, Lee Gattrell, married Bill Fernandez, hence the name Fernandez, and they wanted to adopt me. As the story goes, they couldn't. They were too old. So the doctor, my doctor, suggested they just take me. And they did. They took me to San Francisco. That's where I was raised. All my life went to school in San Francisco. So I did not know. Everybody in the family knew I was adopted except me. It was a big secret, I guess, because I wasn't legally theirs. So when did I find out? Well, when I was 17, and I wanted to go into the Dominican convent, which is an order of Catholic nuns. And my mother just sat me down and started to cry. And what are you crying for? You can't go. I'm thinking, oh, yes, I can. But she said, you're illegal. You're illegitimate. And I said, okay, why? And she said, because you were never adopted. So anyway, at 17, I went and became adopted as a Fernandez, and I went into the convent, Dominican convent in San Rafael, California, Northern California. As a nun, I took a vow of obedience. You go wherever they tell you to go and teach. So again, my first assignment was in Ukiah, California, way up in Northern California. I had, just like your classrooms, I had 45 students, first graders, I'm just lying. But they were good kids. We had anyone to do sports with the kids, so they asked for volunteers, and so I coached basketball, girls basketball, which was terrible. And I even coached boys softball because they had no one else to do it, and we had a good time. Did we ever win a game? No. Taught full-time, but on the weekends, I would go up to Northern California, up to the Poma Indian area, and we teach catechism, which is teaching the rules of the Catholic Church to the Poma Indians. The part that I am most offended about is our government. We went there and helped them the way we could, any way we could. But the government gave the controllers of the Indians money to help them with their housing. One of the most horrible things was walking into one of their houses, and the government didn't care. So there was a toilet working toilet in the middle of their kitchen. So what the workers did, they just put doors extra places, they put toilets wherever they wanted to. Their sinks didn't work. It was a very sad experience for me as a young person. Like I said, I was only 20, but I just didn't understand that at all. After that experience, after 3 years, my next assignment was inner city schools in LA. And once again, you go wherever they send you. It was in the heart of the Watts area, and I don't know what you know about the Watts riots. 35 dead after a 6-day riot, and thousands injured. And our school, St. Michael's, was right in the middle of it. It was not the best experience in the world. The inner school that I taught at was, I'd say, 85% black, many mulattoes, which means light-skinned blacks, a combination, and a few Mexican Americans. Everybody got along fine, that was fine. I started like a volleyball night between the nuns and the parents. I taught guitar to the 7th and 8th graders, and then we would sing at church, kind of an early praise band type of thing. But they had a good time, and we did too. That place I was at St. Michael's, which I loved, I was there for 8 years, but I started to doubt what I was doing as far as my life went. So this is when I decided to leave after 11 years in the convent. So I was a full-fledged nun. I did the whole program, but it broke my heart. It was kind of like a divorce, because it's very sad. But I really have a hard time with hypocrisy. And if you say one thing with your uniform, then you have to believe it, and you have to act on it. And we were supposed to be representatives of Christ, and if you weren't, that didn't settle real well with me. But anyway, I felt that there were many people in that profession that were not. They were not good, kind people. And it just really bothered me. And of course, here again, I'm very young. I'm like 22, something like that. And I'd have parents come to me with 13 kids and say, what am I supposed to do? Sister Lisa Marie was my name. I'm going to have my 14th child. Tell me what to do. It's like, I didn't have the answers. And that and some of the ugliness, and that was not supposed to be. That's not what I signed up for. So that's when I started to doubt. And I went back and forth, and then I had one priest, a very good man. He said, you need to decide. You're on the fence. You need to decide which way you're going to go. He said you can do just as much good outside as you can inside if your heart's in the right place. So that's when I left. After I left the convent, I stayed in LA a couple of years in an apartment, and I got a job teaching an interesting school from my inner city experience to another inner city experience, which was with Asian. I taught nothing but Asian children. There was a pecking order. In my classroom, I had Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. The Chinese disliked the Japanese and the Koreans. The Japanese disliked the Koreans, and the poor Koreans, they were the bottom of the barrel. And that's how the other Asians considered them. It was a learning experience. I had no idea. And the other thing was, all the Chinese children I had spent 5.5 hours with me all day long, and then they went to Chinese school after school for another 2 hours. I thought that was fascinating, and I had a lot of respect for them. One of the best things I ended up doing was I got some parents and organized a building of a playground group, and we had a great time. We washed tires and made a tire playground, almost entirely out of tires, and had a big mound so they could play King of the Mountain and all that kind of stuff. That was fun. It was a wonderful time. And then a friend asked me if I wanted to go to Georgia. It's been fun. Going from here, I will probably teach till I drop in some form or the other. And if there's anything that I believe in or want to do, continue to do until I die, there's a saying from Matthew, and it says, "You're here to be a light, bringing out God colors in the world." And I love that saying, and I hope that's what I do every day. What?